welcome and congratulations to Jamie Bestwick, who has won the Laureus Action Sportsperson of the Year award, and another great award to add to your big collection of awards. But obviously this one means a lot to you. We heard earlier in the auditorium that you dedicated the award to your father. Can you tell us a little bit about why you did that?
You know, my dad just bought me a bike when I was 10 years old, and I never really looked at a bike the way I did when I received my first bike from my father. You know, not only was it a mode of transportation, but it was a tool to unlock a world that I never knew was out there, and that's the world of sports. And you know, to actually see how far you can take yourself on a bicycle, both physically and mentally, is I owe it all to my dad just buying me that one bike. I really got the whole.
It's the same drill as before. If you raise your hand, I can get the microphone to you. So we'll have the first question there and the second question from behind straight after. So first question.
Jamie, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, obviously you've been in the sport for a while now, the older you get, how much more do you think about the risk involved in your sport?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't think about the risk, but it's worth it. I mean, I don't think there's anything these days that isn't a risk. You know, going on the internet is a risk. Putting a phone to your ear is a risk. But I live in that world. I live in the world of risk, and I'm comfortable with it. And the rewards of risk just outweigh it. And you know, when you see these, you know, when you see the finished product, it's kind of that ta-da moment. You just see the end result. But what you don't see is the hours and hours and hours of dedication, both on and off the bike, to making that moment just look so spectacular. So, you know, the risk, you know, if there was no risk in what I do, I'd probably go find something else that was a little riskier.
Go back, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, second question from behind there.
Jensen said that he used to push to the limit all the time, but every time he reached the limit, he found it a little bit more, a little bit more. How close does that mirror what you've gone through in your career of learning new tricks?
I mean, it's very true. You know, it doesn't really matter whether you're racing a car at 200 odd miles an hour, or you're trying to send yourself into the biggest trick you've ever tried. It's just progression. You know, Ayrton Senna was looking for progression in cars. He was looking for the speed, both in the corners and on the straights. In action sports, we're looking to see what is physically possible, both with our bodies and our apparatus. So, you know, to call that, you know, the risk and the progression is that's what keeps you awake at night. It's what gets you out of bed in the morning. It's you live for it. It's such a rush. Yeah, it's the best thing in the world. It's why I'm 42 and I haven't retired.
Next question from the front here.
Jamie, do you ever experience fear when you compete?
You know, you want to try standing on the Laureus stage in front of the Academy members and the very cream of the sporting world, and then you'll kind of see and know what fear feels like. The X Games, a complete breeze. I might get a couple nerves here and there. Standing on that stage was terrifying. And for some strange reason, I kept looking at Eric Cantona, so the experience got even more terrifying the more I kept staring at Eric Cantona, who's quite an intimidating guy, although I imagine he's a huge softie, unless you're playing for the opposite team. No, you know, fear is, it's answering the question again, it's, if it wasn't there, you wouldn't do it. You know, it's like going back to when you was a kid, you're always trying to push it a little bit further, until it bites you. But then you go back again. So it's living with the fear, and it's knowing that you know, fear is your friend. You know, because fear is a great teacher in knowing when we've taken it too far.
Next question here.
You've been doing this for over 30 years. What's the mental game and there someone you benchmark against?
Tony Hawk. You know, Tony set the bar so high, you know, both you know, from an accolade side, but also in the progression. You know, when Tony unveiled the 900, it changed the face of skateboarding forever. In fact, it thrust action sports into a world that, you know, was very rarely seen. And here we are at the Laureus Awards, and we're sitting next to Formula One drivers, and it's a tremendous honor. We're not out of place because what we, you know, bring to the table is what the fans and what the new breed of sports, you know, fans are really looking for. So, you know, Tony was the benchmark. You know, Bob was sat in the audience too, and Bob knows what it's like to chase a record. You know, it can go wrong at any time, and Tony knows that. Tony tried the 900 for so long, and it could go wrong at any moment, but, you know, that's what we live for. We live for the days where, you know, we're scared, and are we going to lose this competition, and somehow you manage to keep it cool and all together in the hopes of, well, in the beginning, you don't set out to break the record, but when you see the record in sight, it definitely becomes the goal. So, yeah, Tony is both a goal chaser himself, and he sets achievements for other people to chase.
Lady in the front, please. Next question.
Congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
And you've been competing for many, many years. How do you keep your focus when you're standing right at the top of the ramps before you take a run? What goes through your mind?
Well, I take a lot of yoga. Anybody who has ever put themselves in a room full of very sweaty women in yoga clothes, you have to keep ultimate focus. So I take a lot of yoga, and, you know, being on top of the ramp and waiting for my name to be called out, it's like a trigger, and it's my time. And it means all the time I spend riding every day, and the monotony of doing the same trick over and over so I can perfect it at any given moment, that's my cue. It's my time to go. And when your name gets called out, there's not anywhere else in the world you want to be than on top of that ramp, waiting to show the world what you've got.
The next question is from right over there.
Congratulations! Hello, congratulations for your award.
Thank you.
From Brazil, and really, you frustrated 2 Brazilian sportsmen, men and women this year, Maya and Bob. Bob really was thinking about having his second Laureus trophy. What can you say to them after a year that they really search for the higher ramp or the biggest wave, and even though they couldn't get the award they wanted, what can they do next year to win the award?
Well, firstly, you know, sorry. See you next year. But, you know, I've been there too, and, you know, I've been nominated 4 times now, and this is the first time that I've won it. And, you know, in previous years, I've always questioned, you know, what wasn't right about the year. Much like what you're saying about Maya and about Bob, what wasn't right about the year. And in 2013, I asked myself, you know, what has to be right about this year? You know, and to be honest, the Laureus Award, you can't really base your year on that. You're just trying to be the best rider you can be. You're trying to leave your legacy in your sport. And, you know, the one thing that I felt out of everything that came before last year was I'd always left something on the table. There was always something I left out, you know, and my goal last year was to leave everything on the table, to give every run, every competition 100%, you know, and turning up in Foz do Iguaçu, I knew Tony's record could be beat, and I trained so hard, I cut weight, I could probably have given Usain Bolt a run for his money. I mean, not, really, but you know, I'm kind of using that as you know, pump my own ego. But I did. I trained so hard. I was in, you know, I was in the building, just riding the ramp day after day, just to get it right. I had to get it right, and you know, that's what it took. You do whatever it takes, and that's why I feel, you know, even in a standout year, and it's not just Bob and it's not just Maya, you know, Mick Fannin, John, Sean White, amazing year, but I felt that, you know, I excelled. You know, I put everything I could into last year, and this is the payoff.
I think we've got time just for one more question before our next winner comes in, so please put down the front here if you'd like one more question.
Jamie, we know some people are more listed as some people aren't. Do you feel like it's something which, you know, it's kind of you developed genetically, or I mean, what kind of compels you to like to live on the edge? And do you like to live on the edge in other aspects of your life?
Do I like to live on the edge in other parts of my life? Well, I'm not a scratch golfer, which is a shame. I'm a terrible cook, but luckily my wife is. But you know, I've looked at other avenues. I took on motorcycle racing, you know. Marquez, not to that level, but you know, you're always seeking the thrills. But I wouldn't say I'm a risk taker. I'm a lot more calculated than that. While some people will just think, you know, this is it, it's go time, I'm going to try this, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, will you come and pick me up from the hospital room? I'm more prepared to work harder on the tricks. You know, because what I'm after is the whole